She doesn't know why she's looking at you. You didn't smile at her with the desperate, needy grin that most men flash like neon signs advertising their insecurity. You didn't try to impress her with clever words or flashy gestures. Didn't peacock around the room like a man trying to convince the world he's worth something. You weren't loud, demanding attention like the desperate men who fill every space with their needy energy, who speak just to hear their own voice because silence terrifies them. You didn't even glance in her direction, didn't give her the validation she's accustomed to receiving from every other man who enters her orbit like satellites drawn to a planet. You didn't check her out obviously, didn't stare like a hungry animal, didn't make it obvious that you noticed her beauty. Yet something about you is pulling her in like a magnet draws iron, like gravity pulls objects toward the earth with invisible but undeniable force, like fire draws moths even when they know it will burn them. Her body responds before her mind can understand it, before her conscious thoughts can rationalize what's happening, before her logic can explain the strange attraction she feels coursing through her nervous system. It's not the clothes, though they hang differently on your frame now, with more presence, more authority, more of the quiet confidence that comes from a man who no longer seeks external validation. It's not the hairstyle, though somehow it seems more purposeful, more intentional, less like you're trying to impress others and more like you're expressing your authentic self. It's not even the muscles, though they carry a different energy now, a controlled power rather than desperate display, strength that doesn't need to be shown off because it's so deeply rooted in your being that it simply radiates naturally. It's something deeper, something that moves beneath the surface like an underground river, flowing with ancient force that has carved canyons and moved mountains. Something that speaks to parts of her consciousness that predate language, that touch nerve centers evolution carved into her biology over millions of years. It's the energy you carry. That's the semen retention aura. This aura speaks a language that no words can replicate, communicates truths that conversation cannot convey, transmits signals that bypass the conscious mind entirely and speak directly to the primitive brain, the reptilian consciousness that recognizes power, authenticity, and genetic fitness at levels deeper than thought. It moves beneath the surface of rational thought, beneath the veneer of social conditioning that tells women to ignore their instincts, beneath the layers of modern confusion about what masculinity really means in a world that has forgotten the difference between toxic masculinity and authentic masculine power. It's primal, ancient, pure masculine force distilled into its essence and concentrated into a living field of energy that surrounds you like an invisible crown, marking you as royalty among peasants, as a king among subjects who have forgotten what real sovereignty looks like. This is the power that built empires when men understood that their energy was their most precious resource. This is the force that conquered continents when warriors knew that every drop of vital essence spent in momentary pleasure was power that could not be spent in lasting achievement. This is the energy that inspired great works of art when artists channeled their creative fire into immortal beauty rather than dissipating it in fleeting gratification. This is the magnetism that moved mountains, both literal and metaphorical, that brought down kingdoms and raised up new ones, that transformed boys into men and men into legends whose names echo through history long after their bodies return to dust. Most men walk around unaware of how much energy they leak daily through endless scrolling, lustful thoughts, late-night releases to meaningless content projected from glowing screens. They live like broken vessels, pouring out their life force through 1,000 small holes, never understanding why they feel empty, why they lack presence, why they command no respect from others or themselves. They wonder why women don't see them, why opportunities pass them by like ships in the night, why life feels flat and colorless like a movie played in black and white when it was meant to be experienced in full color. They blame the world, blame women, blame society, blame everything except the one thing they can control, their own choices about how they spend their most precious resource. Each time they give in, they're giving away power. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally. Their soul becomes scattered like seeds thrown on rocky ground, finding no place to take root and grow into something magnificent. Their focus dissolves like sugar in water, sweet for a moment, then gone without trace, leaving nothing but emptiness where clarity should be. Their will weakens like a muscle that's never exercised, atrophying through disuse until it can barely support the weight of the simplest decisions. They become men who cannot say no to themselves. And if a man cannot govern himself, how can he govern anything else? They become ghosts of men, shadows walking through life without substance, echoes of what they could have been if they had learned to hold their power instead of spilling it for nothing. They move through the world like vampires who have drained themselves, always seeking external sources of energy because they've forgotten how to generate it from within. They wonder why women don't notice them, why opportunities pass them by, why life feels flat and colorless, never realizing they've been bleeding out their vital essence drop by precious drop. They've become addicted to their own depletion, mistaking the temporary relief of release for actual satisfaction, confusing the brief spike of artificial pleasure with genuine fulfillment. But a man who chooses to hold his seed, that man is different. Fundamentally, essentially, undeniably different in ways that cannot be faked, cannot be imitated, cannot be purchased or borrowed or stolen. He stops giving his energy away for nothing, stops living like an addict always seeking the next hit of artificial pleasure that leaves him emptier than before he began. He stops chasing short-term gratification that promises everything and delivers nothing but regret and depletion. He stops trading his birthright for a bowl of digital porridge, stops selling his sovereignty for the counterfeit coins of momentary pleasure. Instead, he lets his energy build like water behind a dam, pressure mounting day by day, week by week, month by month, until the force becomes undeniable. He lets his drive return like a river that was blocked finally flowing free, carrying everything before it with unstoppable momentum. And slowly, gradually, inevitably, the aura forms around him like an electromagnetic field around a magnet, invisible but incredibly powerful, drawing some things toward him while repelling others, creating order from chaos, signal from noise, meaning from confusion. A magnetic field that demands nothing but commands everything. That's the semen retention aura. Not aggressive, not pushy, not desperate for attention like the try-hard energy of men who have forgotten their inherent worth, but undeniably present, unmistakably powerful, unavoidably attractive to those who recognize authentic strength when they encounter it. Like a mountain that doesn't need to announce itself to dominate the landscape, like the sun that doesn't need to argue its importance to light the world, like an ocean that doesn't need to explain its depth to command respect from those who approach its shores. The change is subtle at first, like dawn creeping across the horizon, so gradually you barely notice until suddenly the world is transformed from darkness to light, from cold to warm, from hidden to revealed. In the first few days, the battle is internal, a war between the man you're becoming and the boy you've been. Urges rise like waves against a seawall, testing your resolve, probing for weakness, seeking the path of least resistance that has always been available before. Thoughts tempt like sirens calling to sailors, promising pleasure while concealing the rocks that destroy ships and drown men. The brain begs for release like an addict begging for one more hit, one more dose, one more taste of the poison that has been slowly killing everything noble and strong within you. Every nerve screams for the familiar relief. Every cell cries out for the chemical cascade that has become its normal state. But the man who resists, who stands firm against the tide of his own impulses, who refuses to surrender to the demands of his lower nature, begins to notice a shift. His thoughts become clearer like muddy water settling until you can see the bottom, until every pebble and fish becomes visible with crystal clarity. His body feels warmer, stronger, more alive, as if a fire that was dying has been fed fresh fuel, as if an engine that was running on fumes has been filled with premium gasoline. Energy courses through his veins like electricity through copper wire, seeking expression, demanding purpose, insisting on being used for something greater than momentary pleasure. Eye contact becomes natural instead of forced, effortless instead of awkward. Where once he might have looked away from attractive women out of shame or inadequacy, now he meets their gaze with the quiet confidence of a man who has nothing to hide and everything to offer. His voice deepens, carrying more weight, more authority, more presence. The uncertain tenor of a boy becomes the resonant bass of a man who has learned to speak from his center rather than his throat, who has found his authentic voice rather than the pale imitation he thought he was supposed to project. His posture opens like a flower blooming in sunlight, no longer defensive or apologetic, but claiming his rightful space in the world. His shoulders square, his chest expands, his spine straightens as if pulled by invisible strings attached to the crown of his head, lifting him toward his full height, both physically and spiritually. He becomes more grounded, more present, more here in a world full of men who are always somewhere else, always distracted, always scattered across 1,000 different desires and fears and insecurities. His feet feel connected to the earth, his breath flows deep into his belly, his awareness expands to encompass his entire body rather than being trapped in the anxious chatter of his mind. And this silent transformation becomes the birth of a new energetic signature, one that women and the world begin to notice without explanation, without understanding, but with unmistakable recognition of something powerful and rare. Women have powerful intuition, senses that have been sharpened by millions of years of evolution, instincts that can detect truth beneath lies, strength beneath weakness, authenticity beneath pretense. They are living lie detectors, walking genetic fitness evaluators, biological quality control inspectors who can sense things about men that men often cannot sense about themselves. They don't need to hear your story to know your character, don't need to see your bank account to assess your worth, don't need to understand your history to evaluate your potential. They can feel your presence like animals can sense an earthquake before the ground starts shaking, like flowers can sense the sun even through clouds, like water can sense which way gravity pulls. They can feel your essence like their nervous system is a finely tuned instrument capable of detecting frequencies that others cannot perceive. And when that essence is pure, charged, and not diluted by daily release, they feel it deep in their nervous system like an electric current that awakens something primal within them, something they may have thought was dead or sleeping. A woman may not understand semen retention consciously. She may not know what you've been practicing, may never have heard the term, may think such ideas are strange or extreme if she encounters them intellectually. But her biology will feel it. Her body will recognize what her mind cannot name. Her deepest feminine instincts will respond to your concentrated masculine energy, like a tuning fork resonating to the perfect pitch. This recognition happens at levels deeper than conscious thought, in brain centers that evolved long before language, in neural pathways that connect directly to the endocrine system, triggering responses that she feels as attraction, arousal, fascination, or simple unexplained interest in a man who moments before was just another face in the crowd. She will sense that you are not like the rest, not needy like the men who approach her with desperate hunger in their eyes, looking at her like she's the answer to all their problems rather than a woman with her own dreams and desires and complexities. Not desperate like those who chase her attention like dogs chasing scraps from the master's table, willing to debase themselves for even the smallest acknowledgement. Not lustful in the base, animalistic way that makes her feel like prey rather than a woman to be honored, like an object to be consumed rather than a person to be appreciated. She can sense immediately that your interest, if it exists, comes from a place of choice rather than need, preference rather than desperation, appreciation rather than hunger. She will feel safety, mystery, and fire at the same time, a combination that is rare in her experience with men. Safety because your self-control signals that you can control yourself around her, that you're not driven by uncontrolled urges that might put her in danger, that you have the discipline to respect her boundaries and honor her autonomy. Mystery because you're not an open book begging to be read, not desperately sharing every thought and feeling in hopes of connection. You're not trying to impress her with your accomplishments or win her over with your charm. You're simply present, self-contained, complete unto yourself, which creates space for her curiosity to grow. And fire because the energy you've retained burns within you like a contained flame, controlled but not extinguished, disciplined but not dead. She can sense the power that flows through you, the passion that drives you, the intensity that you carry beneath your calm exterior. That's what the semen retention aura does. It creates tension, attraction, and curiosity, all without a single word, without a gesture, without any effort on your part beyond the simple act of self-mastery. You become interesting without trying to be interesting, attractive without working to attract, magnetic without employing any techniques or strategies. People will say, "You've changed." They can't put their finger on what's different, can't name the transformation they're witnessing, but they know something fundamental has shifted. The energy you radiate is different. The way you carry yourself has evolved. The impact you have on rooms and conversations and social dynamics has transformed. You didn't announce anything. You didn't make proclamations or declarations about your new lifestyle. You didn't post about it on social media or lecture others about their choices. You just stopped wasting yourself. You just began the quiet work of rebuilding your essence from the inside out. You started living with restraint, with focus, with mastery over the forces that master other men. And now it radiates from you like heat from a fire, like light from a candle, like strength from a mountain that has stood for millennia and will stand for millennia more. You become calm even in chaos, centered even in noise, stable even when the world around you is shaking. Women feel safer around you because safety emanates from self-controlled men like warmth emanates from the sun. They don't have to worry about you losing control, saying something inappropriate, or acting out of uncontrolled impulse. They laugh more around you because laughter comes naturally when people feel safe and relaxed. They open up more, sharing thoughts and feelings they normally keep hidden because something about your presence invites authenticity while promising discretion. Some will flirt with an energy different from their usual attempts, less calculated, more genuine, more playful. They're not trying to manipulate you because they sense you cannot be easily manipulated. They're not testing your reactions because they can feel your stability. They're simply enjoying the rare experience of being around a man who is truly present and self-possessed. Some will test you anyway, probing to see if your strength is real or just another mask worn by weakness. They might try to provoke emotional reactions, create drama, or push boundaries to see how you respond. But these tests come from curiosity rather than manipulation, from a desire to understand this new type of man they're encountering. Some will fall in love without knowing why, drawn to something they can feel but cannot understand. They'll find themselves thinking about you when you're not around, looking forward to seeing you again, feeling disappointed when interactions end. They may not be able to explain their attraction even to themselves, but your path remains the same, forward, not chasing, not impressing, not submitting to impulse or being derailed by attention or validation. Your semen retention aura is now your armor and your sword, protecting you from the manipulations that ensnare other men while drawing people into your sphere of influence. You'll notice more than female attention. Opportunities come faster because confident men attract opportunity like flowers attract bees. Business deals, career advancement, creative collaborations, friendships, invitations, possibilities that seemed closed before suddenly open. People respect your words because they carry the weight of a man who has learned to respect himself. When you speak, others listen, not because you demand attention, but because you command it naturally. Your opinions matter more because you've learned to value yourself appropriately. Strangers treat you with unexpected reverence because they sense something in you that commands respect. Service workers are more helpful, authority figures are more accommodating, children are more obedient, animals are more friendly. The world responds to your energy with recognition of your elevated state. You walk into rooms and others feel your presence before you speak, before you act, before you do anything except exist in your retained state. Conversations pause, heads turn, energy shifts. Not because you're trying to make an entrance, but because your natural presence has become so concentrated that it affects the atmosphere around you. Because you're no longer scattered like leaves in the wind. Your energy is collected, conserved, and transmitted with precision like a laser beam rather than scattered light. Every photon of your being is aligned in the same direction, creating coherence and power that others immediately recognize. Your aura speaks your discipline louder than words ever could. People can sense that you're a man who keeps his word to himself, who follows through on commitments, who has developed the most important relationship possible, the one with his own integrity. Your walk speaks your conviction more clearly than any speech. Each step is deliberate, purposeful, grounded. You move through the world like a man who knows where he's going and has the power to get there. Your silence speaks your power more eloquently than any boast. In a world of men who talk constantly to fill the void within themselves, Your comfortable silence suggests depths that others can only imagine. This isn't spiritual fluff or wishful thinking. It's biology meeting psychology, meeting ancient wisdom that modern science is only beginning to understand. There are measurable, observable, scientifically verifiable reasons why retention transforms your presence and attractiveness. Your semen contains potent building blocks: zinc, selenium, magnesium, testosterone, dopamine, prolactin, oxytocin, serotonin, and dozens of other vital nutrients and compounds that your body requires for optimal function. Every time you hold it in, your body reabsorbs and recycles that life force like a wise king recycling gold instead of throwing it away. Zinc is crucial for testosterone production, immune function, wound healing, and DNA synthesis. When you constantly deplete your zinc through ejaculation, your body must pull this essential mineral from other functions, creating deficiencies that manifest as fatigue, poor immune function, and reduced masculine energy. Selenium acts as a powerful antioxidant, protecting your cells from damage while supporting thyroid function and testosterone production. Magnesium is essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including energy production, protein synthesis, and nervous system function. The testosterone present in semen isn't just lost when you ejaculate. It's actively reabsorbed when you retain, contributing to higher baseline testosterone levels that manifest as increased confidence, energy, and masculine presence. It repairs what was broken, builds what was lacking, strengthens what was weak. Over time, that inner reservoir becomes a glowing furnace, a concentrated source of power that others can feel even when they can't see it. Your eyes begin to shine with a light that comes from within, not the artificial brightness of stimulants or substances, but the natural radiance of a system running at optimal capacity. The whites become clearer, the pupils more responsive, the gaze more penetrating and steady. Your skin glows with health that no cosmetic can replicate, no procedure can imitate. The complexion improves as circulation increases and inflammation decreases. The texture becomes smoother as cellular regeneration accelerates. The color becomes more vibrant as your body finally has the resources to maintain itself properly. Your hair thickens as your body receives the nutrients it was previously losing through constant depletion. Follicles that were dormant begin producing again. Existing hair becomes stronger, shinier, more lustrous as the building blocks of keratin become available in abundance. Your voice vibrates deeper, carrying more resonance, more authority, more of the bass tones that signal masculine power to both men and women. The vocal cords strengthen, the breathing deepens, the entire instrument of your voice becomes more powerful and compelling. And that vitality is felt by everyone, especially women whose feminine energy naturally resonates with masculine vitality. They feel it like plants feel sunlight, like metal feels magnetism, like water feels gravity. The response is automatic, unconscious, irresistible. Around day 30, your confidence stabilizes like a building finding its foundation. No longer do you swing between artificial highs and depleting lows. Your self-assurance becomes steady, reliable, unshakable. Women notice this stability because they're tired of men who are emotional roller coasters, who need constant validation and reassurance. The confidence that comes from retention is different from the borrowed confidence of alcohol or the manufactured confidence of positive thinking. It's the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you can trust yourself, that you can keep promises to yourself, that you have the discipline to do difficult things. Around day 60, you become harder to manipulate because your energy is your own again. The tactics that work on other men, guilt, shame, sexual temptation, peer pressure, bounce off you like arrows off armor. You see through games because you're no longer playing them yourself. Women who are used to controlling men through sexual manipulation find themselves confused and intrigued by your immunity to their usual tactics. Men who are used to dominating through aggression or politics find their strategies ineffective against your quiet strength. Around day 90, you're nearly unrecognizable from who you were before. Your goals are sharper because your mind is clearer. Your time is protected because you value it properly. Your standards rise because you've learned what you're truly worth. The 3-month mark seems to be a threshold where the transformation becomes visible to everyone. Friends comment that you look different. Family members ask what you've been doing. Strangers treat you with more respect. The accumulated energy reaches a critical mass that cannot be hidden. You walk differently, not arrogantly, but consciously. Each step is deliberate, purposeful, grounded. You move through the world like a man who knows where he's going and has the power to get there, like a king surveying his domain rather than a peasant hoping for scraps. You sit with more poise, occupying space like a king occupying his throne, not apologetic for your presence, but not aggressively claiming more than you're due. Your posture speaks of someone who belongs wherever he is, who has the right to be there, who brings value to every situation. You breathe deeper because your nervous system is no longer in constant stress mode. The shallow, anxious breathing of the depleted man gives way to the deep, centered breathing of the man who has found his power. This deeper breathing further enhances your presence and calm. Your masculine frame becomes a grounded pillar that others lean on, look up to, draw strength from. In a world full of men who are emotional and unstable, your steadiness becomes a refuge for others who are seeking solid ground. And your aura becomes a living signal that says, this man is focused, this man has power, this man doesn't need validation, this man is dangerous in the best way. Not dangerous in the sense of being harmful, but dangerous in the sense of being unpredictable to those who are used to controlling others through conventional means. Some women will be deeply attracted to this concentrated masculine energy because it calls to something ancient in their feminine nature. They may not understand their attraction, may even resist it consciously, but they cannot deny the pull they feel toward your retained power. The attraction women feel toward retained men is not a choice they make consciously. It's an automatic response programmed by millions of years of evolution, a recognition of genetic fitness and masculine vitality that bypasses rational thought entirely. Some may even become possessive, wanting to claim you, to control you, to be the one who finally breaks your self-discipline. This possessiveness comes from recognizing your value and wanting to secure it for themselves, like finding a rare treasure and wanting to keep it safe. Others may feel challenged or triggered by your self-mastery because it reminds them of their own lack of control. Your discipline becomes a mirror that reflects their own undisciplined choices, creating discomfort that they may express as criticism or rejection. Why? Because most are used to men who give away their attention easily, who flatter and chase like trained pets, who bow to beauty as if it were a god to be worshipped. They're accustomed to being the center of attention, the source of validation, the prize to be won. But your semen retention aura makes you immune to shallow traps. Your eyes don't chase every attractive woman who passes by like a dog chasing cars. Your smile is rare and therefore precious when it appears, like sunshine after days of rain. Your attention is earned, not freely given to anyone who asks. This scarcity makes your attention more valuable, your approval more meaningful, your interest more significant. When you do choose to focus on someone, they feel special because they know it's a choice, not a compulsion. And that creates tension, desire, intrigue, the very things that captivate feminine energy. Women are drawn to mystery, challenge, and the unknown. When you become self-contained and self-sufficient, you become all three. This is the paradox that most men never understand. The more you chase, the more you repel. The more you give your attention freely, the less valuable it becomes. The more you demonstrate need, the less attractive you appear to those you're trying to attract. But when you hold your power, when you conserve your energy, when you make yourself scarce and valuable, you become irresistible. Not through manipulation or games, but through genuine self-mastery that cannot be faked, cannot be imitated, cannot be purchased. Your semen retention aura isn't just a tool for attraction. It's a weapon against mediocrity in all its forms. It forces you to grow, to evolve, to lead yourself because you can no longer rely on external validation to feel good about yourself. When you stop seeking validation through sexual conquest or release, you're forced to find validation through achievement, through character development, through becoming the man you were meant to be. This internal validation is more stable and lasting than any external source. Every day you retain, you're choosing power over pleasure. You're choosing purpose over impulse. You're choosing transformation over temptation. And that choice, repeated again and again, becomes your field of energy, your personal atmosphere, the invisible crown that marks you as royalty among peasants. This daily choice compounds like interest in a bank account, building momentum, creating habits, establishing patterns that reshape your entire life. Each decision to retain strengthens your will for future decisions, creating an upward spiral of self-mastery. You don't need to explain yourself because explanation dilutes power. When you have to justify your choices, you're implicitly seeking approval for them, which weakens their impact and your conviction. You don't need to prove anything because proof is for those who doubt themselves. Your presence is your proof. Your results are your evidence. Your transformation is your testimony to the power of this practice. Just walk. Just be. Just live in your retained state. The world will adjust. People will notice. And women, whether they admit it or not, will feel it deeply in ways they cannot ignore or rationalize away. The way you make them feel when you say nothing will be louder than anything you could have said. Words are cheap, but presence is priceless. Promises are easy to make and break, but self-mastery is rare and unmistakable. Talking is common in a world where everyone has an opinion and everyone wants to be heard. But the energy of retained power is extraordinary, unusual, remarkable in its rarity and impact. They will feel that presence like a warm fire on a cold night, drawing them towards something they need but didn't know they were missing. They will sense that fire like metal sensing magnetism, pulled by forces they cannot see but cannot resist. They will recognize that magnetism like their deepest feminine nature, recognizing its complement in your masculine essence, like two pieces of a puzzle that fit together perfectly even though they've never met before. You become the storm they never saw coming, the force that enters their life quietly but changes everything. You become the mystery they want to solve, the puzzle that keeps them thinking about you long after you've left the room. You become the force they want to be near, not because you chase them or pursue them or make them feel needed, but because something in them recognizes something in you that is rare and valuable and worth pursuing. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. You didn't speak pretty words or make grand gestures. You just mastered yourself. And that, above all else, is the most attractive thing any man can do. Self-mastery signals genetic superiority, emotional stability, and the kind of discipline that builds empires and creates dynasties. It tells a woman that you are capable of protecting, providing, and leading, not through force or dominance, but through strength of character. The semen retention aura is not for the weak, not for those who want easy paths and comfortable lives. It's for the man ready to walk alone when necessary, to burn his desires in the fire of discipline, to build an empire both internal and external. When you carry this aura, you are no longer just a man competing with other men for scraps of attention. You're the embodiment of sacred masculine energy in motion, the living proof that men can transcend their animal nature without losing their masculine power. You become a beacon for other men who are tired of weakness, a signal to women that real men still exist, a reminder to yourself that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined possible. And you don't have to say a single word. They'll feel it in your presence, sense it in your energy, recognize it in the way you move through the world with purpose and power and unshakable self-possession. This is your inheritance as a man, your birthright as a bearer of masculine essence, your destiny as one who has chosen the path of self-mastery over self-indulgence. Claim it, own it, become it. The world is waiting for men who remember what they are. Be one of them.